Hey everybody, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. Before we get started with today's video, let's take a moment to reflect just on where we are as a community right now. If somebody had told me a few years ago that I was going to start a YouTube channel, I probably would have said, yeah, that makes sense. You know, I've done a lot of other creative things in my life, and so video seems like the next logical step. Now, if somebody had said that my YouTube channel was going to be about retro handhelds, I would have said, what are those? And then the moment I saw them, I would say, yeah, that also makes sense because these are awesome. Now, if that same person had also said that a few years from now, you're going to be wearing some ridiculous glasses while talking to an audience of over 200,000 subscribers, I would have said to go fly a kite. But believe it or not, that's where we are here today. I'm wearing these crazy glasses, and honestly, they're pretty awesome. And so in today's video, we're going to review these glasses here. They are called the NXTWEAR S by a company called TCL. You've probably heard of them from making TVs over the past several years. And essentially these glasses are like having a big screen TV right here on your head. Now there's some pretty unique things about it. For example, there's no battery or anything else here. It's all being powered over USB-C, which is also providing the video input. And so you might already be kind of thinking about the specific use cases with these glasses. For example, if you take something like the Steam Deck, which has USB-C video out, I can just go ahead and plug this directly in, and within a few seconds, the image pops up here on the glasses. I have the sound coming out through these little speakers right here, and all of a sudden I have a big screen TV to play Steam Deck wherever I want to go. And so while these glasses specifically are probably not something I would want to walk around in town while enjoying, it's still a really neat concept to be able to have a large screen in front of you without having to deal with a large TV or something else like that. And there's also a couple other use cases that I want to discuss here that really do make this a little bit compelling. And so without any further delay, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okay, let's start by talking about the specs. In terms of display, these glasses have dual micro LEDs. Both of them are rated for a 1080p screen with 60 Hz. In terms of the size of the image, it's supposed to be simulating a 130-inch screen from 4 meters away. And it's kind of hard to describe that experience, but to me it feels a lot like holding a really nice phone screen right up to your face. In terms of connectivity, this will support any device that has USB-C DisplayPort out. And so for example, a lot of handheld PCs like the Steam Deck or AYANEO devices have this capability, and a lot of Android phones have this as well, but the iPhone still does not. It uses that Lightning port. And so for an iPhone you would need to use an adapter, but something like the iPad Pro with USB-C will work. These glasses also have support for 3D images if you want to play video content that way as well. In terms of weight, it's pretty lightweight, only 89 grams, and that has to do with the fact that it has no battery. Everything is going to be powered directly from that USB-C output. In terms of just practical use, I would say they're a little bit heavier than your typical sunglasses, but not by much. After about a week of testing, there was never a moment where I felt to myself, man, these glasses are getting too heavy. In terms of pricing, it's still part of an Indiegogo campaign that ended last month, but they're still selling it on their page. And for now, the pricing is $350, although they do say that the MSRP is going to be about $450. And to me, that $350 price point seems about right, especially compared to competitors. For example, the Nreal glasses, which a lot of people have heard of here, are $30 more than the current Indiegogo price of the TCL ones. So let's go ahead and move over to the unboxing. Now, full disclosure here, TCL sent these out for review. No money was exchanged in any way, and all opinions are my own. Additionally, because this is a review unit, you can expect that there may be some adjustments when this does go to full retail. It comes bundled with a quick user guide here, and then they also have some special lens in case you are nearsighted or farsighted. What you would do here is you would get your prescription added to these lenses by your eye doctor, and then you'd be good to go. It also comes with a screwdriver kit so you can adjust the lenses yourself, as well as an additional nose adapter right here. Other than that, the setup is super simple. All that's left is just one single USB-C cable. The glasses themselves come in this handy protective case, which has also got just enough space for that cable as well. And so more or less this is a totally portable solution. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the glasses themselves. Now, first impressions here, it has that kind of Ray-Ban style to it. It is pretty tasteful. The arms themselves are a little bit thicker than normal, and then obviously there's a bunch of hardware here with the different lenses inside. In terms of I/O, it's actually very simple as well. We have a volume wheel right here, and this glides really smoothly. And then on the opposite side, we have a multifunction button. This can flick left and right to adjust the brightness. And if you press down on it, it will toggle on the 2D and 3D function. And that's really about it when it comes to functionality. I was expecting to see a lot of different complicated bells and whistles, but honestly, it's super simple. Also on the same side, we have a magnetic connector here for the USB cable. Other than that, we have some dual directional stereo speakers which are aimed directly above the ear. And the audio quality here is pretty good. It lacks a little bit of bass, but otherwise is nice and clear. Here's a quick audio sample.
Round one, fight!
In terms of build quality, this has a light, kind of plasticky feel to it, which makes sense because they were probably trying to keep this as lightweight as possible. Now the front face of the glasses here can come off. These are basically just a light shield. And so these are the actual lenses right here, and the glasses will function like this. That being said, if you use these glasses anywhere where there's going to be ambient light, you are going to want to use those covers. Now the projectors themselves are within this forehead module, and it also has a sensor here on the center so it knows when you've taken the glasses off. Now let's get a look at that cable. It has USB-C on one end and then that magnetic section on the other. And it just hooks up that way, and the length here is exactly 4 feet. Now TCL also sent out this HDMI adapter in case you have a device that doesn't support USB-C DisplayPort out. A good example here is going to be the Nintendo Switch. When using it in docked mode, obviously it's going to have HDMI out. And so we can use this adapter to intercept that HDMI signal and then change it to a USB-C DisplayPort out. And the setup here is pretty easy. There's a small HDMI cable which will connect here to the Switch dock. And then there are two different USB-C ports here. The first one is going to be to actually power the port itself, so you can plug that directly into the dock as well. And now that last USB-C port is our DisplayPort out. And so once you have everything hooked up, you've effectively changed HDMI out to work with this device. And so this has a lot of different applications. For example, you could hook it up to your Xbox or PlayStation, but bear in mind, you're going to be tethered to that 4-foot cable. And so to me personally, it doesn't sound very fun to just sit right next to a Nintendo Switch or a PlayStation and play it this way. And unfortunately, the Nintendo Switch itself is not capable of DisplayPort out. And so if you hook the glasses up directly to the Switch, it doesn't provide any sort of video signal. And so if you do want to use it portably, which I think is probably going to be its strong suit anyway, you're going to want to use it with a device that is capable of video out. And so something like the Steam Deck is a perfect fit. It's going to give you a 1080p output, and it'll turn the screen off as well to save some battery life. Now here's a look at the glasses if you take that front lens off. Like I mentioned, these will still work this way, but if you use it in a lit room like this, it's almost impossible to see. And so you are going to want to leave them on in most cases. But yeah, it's pretty neat to be able to have a portable version of BioShock Infinite like this. And so when it comes to gaming, using the Steam Deck like this works seamlessly. It's a lot of fun. Now other devices that have DisplayPort out, like the AYANEO Odin Pro, this can just hook right up as well. And for this one, I've adjusted the settings so that the screen will stay on while I'm playing, just to show you a demonstration here. But I gotta say, it's kind of crazy to have like big screen Game Boy on your glasses like this. It's a lot of fun. And probably my favorite use case out of all of these here has been playing upscaled retro games on this big screen. And so like in this setup here with Final Fantasy XII, I've put it into widescreen mode, and I've also given it a 2x resolution. And so even at just a 2x resolution here, the image looks nice and sharp. And so I've had a lot of fun just kind of testing out some of these games like this. Now other handheld PCs usually have DisplayPort video out, and so something like the AYANEO Air Pro, like this one here, works really well too. In the end, this has been one of my most frequent use cases, just being able to have a single cable plugged into a handheld PC or the Odin and just being able to play like that. Now, after a few days of testing, I do have a couple observations, so let's go over those really quick. Number one is that when you actually put the device on like this, you want to kind of keep your head very sedentary as you're playing something. I found that if you move your head around while watching something or playing, it can be a little bit nauseating. It gives you a bit of motion sickness. For example, with my wife, who is prone to getting motion sickness, she just has to lay absolutely still. She loves the image, but she just can't move her head at all. And the surprising thing about that is that it's harder than you might think to stay still, because when you're playing something like a first-person shooter game, your reaction is going to be to just move your head a little bit when the action starts going. And when you do that, it is going to be a little bit jarring. And so it's almost like you want to treat it like VR, but this is not VR, it's just a projection. And so at the end of the day, I think you just need to train yourself to be a little bit sedentary. It probably took me maybe 2 hours to get accustomed to it, and after that I've had no problems at all, but something to think about. My second observation is that it works really well in the daytime. For example, when you have something in a brightly lit room like here, when I turn this on, it actually has absolutely no problems whatsoever. If you've ever tried to watch TV when there's a light room, or maybe there's some sun glaring in on your TV, you know it's a really bad experience, and that does not happen here. In fact, this is really nice to use in a bright environment. And that actually leads me to my third observation, in that these glasses are really good to use when you're sitting in the car. So for example, with our kids, we take them to piano lessons twice a week. And when we're there, we're not allowed to like go inside during the lesson or anything. We just kind of have to sit in our car for a half hour. And so in an example like that, these glasses come in really handy. You can sit in the car, you can plug this up to your phone if you have an Android phone, or you can plug it up to your Steam Deck or a gaming console, and you can just immediately start playing without having to stare down at your little screen. Now, obviously, people walking by might see you in the car and be like, what is going on in there? But either way, it's just a really nice way to kill some time. And finally, my fourth observation is that this top part right here, where your forehead kind of touches the screen right here, this is where the projector kind of comes out. And it does get a little bit warm over time. I would say after about 30 minutes or so, you will kind of feel that it's getting a little bit warm. Now, that is to say it's not totally unpleasant. For example, it took me a couple days to even notice it was happening in the first place. But after a while, I thought, hey, is it getting warm or is it just me? And yeah, it turns out that this part does get a little bit warm. Not a bad thing altogether, but something to consider. And so those are just some quick observations. You're not going to want to move your hand around too much. This thing works really well in the daytime as well as in a car. And just be aware that it does get a little bit warm here at the top over time. Not unpleasantly so, but something you may observe. Now, this is super awkward to film, so bear with me here for a second, but this easily is probably the best way that I've found for enjoying the glasses, and that is just to enjoy them while laying down. And so, as you can imagine, when I'm laying in bed at night, I can just go ahead and watch movies directly on this. And I've used a couple different methods. The most easy method for me has been to use my iPad. The more recent version of the iPads, especially the iPad Pro, come with a USB-C out connection, and that's capable of video out. And so what I've been doing is just plugging it directly into my iPad and watching movies like that. And typically in a scenario like that, I have to hold the iPad up kind of like how I'm holding the camera right now. And it gets heavy over time. But when I'm doing it that way, when I just can lay the iPad down and then wear these glasses, I don't have to move my arms at all. I can just kind of lay there and enjoy it. And according to my wife, she can't hear the sound coming out of the speakers when I'm laying right next to her. And so that's kind of a nice thing. I think she can hear it a little bit, but she's just being really nice about it. Now, I will say it's not a perfect solution. For example, when you're actually trying to adjust the brightness in a very dark room, the most dim setting seems to be too dim for me, and the next one up is a little bit too bright. And so in that regard, I found that playing a video that has like daytime scenes can be a little bit too bright for my eyes at night. But other than that, it's been a great experience. Now, this is super awkward. My arms are getting tired, so let's move on to another scene. And so let me give you a quick demonstration of the setup that I've been using with my iPad. And so here I have the older 2018 model of the iPad Pro, and I have this hooked up to my personal Plex server right here. And thankfully, to get this set up, it is completely seamless. All you have to do is just plug it directly into the Type-C input, and then once I have them hooked up, it'll immediately project the image to the glasses. From here, I can navigate both on the screen or the glasses, and then once the movie actually starts up, it'll only project onto the glasses. And so within this setup, you have a couple different options. You could leave the screen on like this to have some manual adjustments to be able to fast forward or rewind. Or you could actually just tap the button on the iPad and it'll turn the display off on the iPad itself, but it'll still run on the glasses too. And so this here has been the setup that I've been using to watch movies at night. Okay, and so wrapping up things here, let's talk about what I like and what I don't like about the NXTWEAR S glasses from TCL. And we'll start with the things I like. Number one is the image quality. We have a nice crisp 1080p signal coming from those micro LEDs. Additionally, I found the glasses to be lightweight. There's never been a moment where I thought they were too heavy. I also like how dead simple everything is. Everything just kind of works. You plug it in and you immediately start watching. When I first accepted the review unit, I thought to myself, man, I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of time doing all this configuration, and the opposite was true. I also found my favorite use case for these was to play them in bed. It's nice to be able to play games without having to hold the device over your head, and so your arms aren't gonna get tired. Additionally, it's just a nice way to kick back and watch movies right before you go to sleep. But that also leads to the things I don't like about these glasses, so let's talk about that next. Probably the most prominent thing here is that brightness curve. I found that when I was watching in a very dark room, the most dim setting would lose a lot of detail. And especially during darker movies or scenes, there were times when I couldn't actually see a lot of what was going on. Meanwhile, the next dimmest setting is a little bit too bright. This setting will work well with a dark movie or scene, but when it gets to a brighter scene, it gets a lot brighter. And so I found myself adjusting the brightness manually depending on the scene I was watching, which wasn't the greatest experience. Another thing to bear in mind with these glasses is that they excel in specific use cases. And so when you plug it up to something like an iPad or a Steam Deck, yeah, it works perfectly. But for other use cases, like plugging plugging it into a docked Nintendo Switch or a PS5 or an Xbox or even your home PC, then it doesn't really make sense because it only has a 4-foot cable and you're just going to be sitting right next to your machine. And chances are in that scenario you have a monitor or a TV already hooked up to that device. And so in the end, it's a great fit when it comes to a portable device like the Steam Deck, but not something like the PS5. Now next, this one isn't a ding on the company itself, but just the fact that these smart glasses are inherently fragile. Just like with any other glasses, you want to make sure that you baby them. You wouldn't want to throw these around or drop them on the ground, something else like that. And so something to just kind of bear in mind, these aren't like rugged glasses. This is something you will want to have to kind of keep safe. And finally, this one's a bit of an intangible, but it does give me some early adopter vibes. I feel like if these type of glasses really take off and get popular, in about 5 years from now, we'll have much smaller versions available. And so I would say getting a pair of glasses like this in today's age is pretty cool. It definitely has opened up some other use cases that I hadn't been using previously. But I'm most excited to see what the next generation of these glasses are going to look like. And so in the end, do I recommend checking out these glasses from TCL? Well, as always, it's probably going to depend on you. If you already have a device that has DisplayPort video out, something like the Steam Deck or an iPad, and you find yourself in situations where you could use these glasses, then yeah, I could see this being a viable option. In the end, I don't really see these glasses as being like a TV or monitor replacement, but more like a complement depending on the situation. And to me personally, I've enjoyed using these when waiting in the car for my kids to finish their piano lessons or to watch movies or play games in bed. But at the same time, I think if you wait for the next generation, these glasses are probably going to get even better and will start to get cheaper as well. And so let me know what you think in the comments below. Are these glasses something that are on your radar, or are you going to wait them out? As always, thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.